Hey guys, and welcome back to DBTalks Football Podcast. Today we're going to be breaking down one of the most disappointing defeats of the season. Barcelona losing 2-1 to Girona away. And yeah, this was a game that we should have killed by halftime. We should have taken the lead early and dominated the game. But again, we're just seeing how wasteful this team is and how the system is really being shown as vulnerable against every opposition we play. And now, because of this, we lost and we dropped 3 points. We are now behind Real Madrid in La Liga. So, again, it's just so disappointing to see because we had such a good run of we've got such a good run of games, and it just seems like in recent form it's all falling apart. And again, we saw Raphinha come back today, but yeah, he just came back and started, so he couldn't really make much of a difference. But overall, I just feel like the team was so sloppy and just so disappointing to see. I just feel like we're just really passive at the moment, and yeah, just not looking good for the future. But yeah, let's discuss the game. Brajesh, you want to go over the lineups?
Yeah, so going lineup. So it was an interesting lineup. So starting we had Joan Garcia as keeper, and then the back line was a bit interesting. So all they didn't start. He got rotated. I'm guessing maybe I think he was a bit tired coming off the Atleti game. I think kind of noticed that ball he wasn't really on his usual form, because usually he's pretty solid, but I think after the game, I think Flick wanted to rotate him. So yeah, Joan Martin actually took that position at left back, and then two center backs were Eric Garcia and Kubarsi, and then right back Koundé. In the midfield, the midfield that we kind of been seeing a bit recently, trying to play more. I think it's the best midfield without Pedri, in my opinion at least. We've seen De Jong, and then you have Olmo and Fermin. It feels more like an Olmo De Jong double pivot, with Fermin playing a bit like a 10. And look at the front three. So Yamal, obviously right wing, and then like I mentioned, Raphinha's back. So Raphinha actually started as the left wing, and then striker up top was Ferran Torres. And yeah, just talking about going to the game. Like you mentioned with the Atleti game, how that Atleti game, it was pretty disappointing for every Barca fan, just Barca in general. I think all the players were disappointed. Flick was very disappointed. So obviously this game, Barca needs something to bring back the momentum on their side. And so obviously this was really important. Of course, with the league, Madrid are kind of close, and this would have been a pretty important 3 points. But like you kind of said, it didn't really happen. Barca lost, and now Barca are second place. Is it 2 points or 1 point? I think it's 2 points, right, behind
2 points,
Madrid.
yeah.
Yeah, so that's a bit 2 points are still, it's kind of a lot. It's a one whole game difference. It's a 1-win difference. So yeah, and that was kind of the lineup going to the game.
Yeah, and as you mentioned, I was really hoping to see a big performance from the team because obviously, losing 4-0 to Atletico Madrid was a big shocker. So I did expect the team to come back and I guess show the fans yo, we're taking this serious and we really want to prove you guys wrong and win games dominantly. But again, people were talking about a second leg comeback against Atletico Madrid. But if we keep performing like this, it really looks like we're gonna lose by more. So. Yeah, looking at the lineup, it was interesting to see that, Raphinha really started this game and played, I think, around 60 minutes. So I didn't expect that because the main thing with Raphinha, we have to keep him healthy because he is so important for this team. And, he just came back. So I don't know why Flick started him. Maybe he felt Raphinha would do something or he was needed in this game. But that was a bit of a shaky decision. And also with the player like Rooney, we haven't really seen him for so long. And it just feels Rooney has just not been given the chance to get some consistent form and get some consistent games. So that's also a bit frustrating. But other than that, we're going to talk about some of the players that played this game and their performances. But yeah, overall, I just expected a lot more from this team to win this game confidently. But yeah, in that first half, I think we did actually start the half well. I think the press was much better. I think we were much more intense than the Atletico Madrid game, and I feel the first 10 minutes or so we were actually doing really well. But after that, I just felt again we kind of fell off, and at that point, again we were creating chances, but it just feels we truly rely on individual moments, and it feels it's in the attack and our overall attacking threat is not fluid anymore. It feels we rely on individual plays, either a Yamal dribble or some sort of smart play from him, or we just rely on some Raphinha moment where he can get a low driven shot or something like that to get us the lead. Whereas even last season we saw that our attack was really fluid. We created chances as a team, but yeah, I just feel at the moment we're really struggling, especially without a player like Pedri. And even players like Ferran, I just feel like he's so frustrating. I feel like our overall attack is looking really stale at the moment. And with Ferran Lewa as your options at striker, it just reduces how much your attack can fulfill their potential, because they're just not like good anymore. I feel like with Ferran, he's just a bit too passive, a bit of like a passenger in games, and it feels like he depends on other players to get him the goals. Whereas we need a player, a striker at least, who can take games by the scruff of the neck and actually make a difference themselves. So I think we're really lacking in that department, and overall our midfield as well. I just feel like it's not like balanced enough. I think with De Jong, Olmo, and for me, and just too attacking minded, and at times our midfield is really open, and there's not enough like defensive depth in there. And even our just defense, I feel like we have to really be harsh about it at the moment. I think it's one of the worst defenses like we've seen in recent years. I think it's just so like easy to score against us, and that's really something that bothers me. And um, our defense just feels like at moments whenever a team is attacking us, it's like a chance, like there's like a high chance that they're either going to get a big chance or score, and it's almost like a roulette where you depend on individual like defenders to like, save you. Like at times Eric saves us, sometimes Kunde makes a tackle, but if that doesn't work out, it feels like it's a really high percentage chance for them to score. So that's something that also like is not good enough. And at times you saw even this game, like Joan Garcia has to like bail us out or like save us. So yeah, that's the main thing I'd like to talk about, at least for the first half. I know we create a lot of chances, but again, we went in that second half 0-0. We couldn't score any goals, and that's been an issue like in recent games where we just don't take chances. We're really wasteful, and it is also kind of unlucky. We've hit the post so many times, and we've also hit the crossbar and stuff like that. So yeah, I'm just not sure like what this team needs to do to do much better. I think Flick really needs to like change something. I think the highline is really not working anymore, and it's just costing us points in big games like this where we need to win. So yeah, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, so when I talk about the first half, I think you kind of said a lot, like the main points, like the defense. I think has been like the main topic of this game. I think a lot of people are talking about, and with the first half, I mean, I think the attack honestly wasn't that strong. I think some chances, like the Lamine one-on-one chance that I think he should have easily slotted away, but he didn't, and I feel like chances like those are just wasting them. Obviously, has a huge impact on like the outcome and the result of the game. I feel like if he scored that, Barca have so much momentum going into that like rest of the first half and even the second half. So I think moments like those and just not like slowing with the chances that, especially the easier ones, I just think that just you really come to punish you. And I think Barca have kind of experienced that a lot in this season, even parts of like last year as well, where you see like Barca don't like get the chances, like score the chances, then it can really come back to bite. So and even like a more important game, like doing something like that, it's a lot more risky, and it could cost a lot more. So yeah, I just feel like that was just kind of disappointing. I think overall the attack wasn't that great, and I think the midfield was okay for like a bit, but at the same time, I think Girona did. I think Girona played very well in the first half. I think their counters and just their, I guess, attack is just something I'd never expect, because I think they played very well, and I think they definitely exploited the attack, the defense, Barca's defense a lot. And like you mentioned, the defense, I just think it's super weak, and it's I think like a lot of teams know how to play against it and around it, and I think it's very obvious now. It's just the way that a lot of teams are just attacking against Barca. I feel like it's so threatening, and it kind of forces Joan Garcia to be the main person that decides whether the goal goes in or not, because we see it's usually him that's making all the saves. And he kind of mentioned in a post interview about he shouldn't be praised for making all these saves, because in the first place he shouldn't really be having to make those saves, because it should be the defense's job to make sure they don't like get the shot off or anything like that. So yeah, and talking about like the high line, because you kind of mentioned how Flick should probably adjust the high line. I think it's gonna be hard for Flick to really adjust it, because I think that's such a crucial part of his philosophy and like the way he plays football and like his system. But at the same time, I think the main problem is just the players that are within the high line and just the back line in general. I feel like it's a very intense role, and I think players kind of mentioned in the past as well. Like I know Inigo Martinez and Gerard Martin mentioned how it kind of forces you to be focused like on high alert for the whole 90 minutes, and that can put like a really high like stress and drain on you, and like it's hard for them to sleep at times because of like all that like focus and mental pressure. So I think really like it's the players that are the kind of the reason why the highlight's not really working, or the defense is not the best, because you can argue like, yeah, the highlight lets the runners, or the opposing runners, get a good through ball and they can get like a good chance off it. But I think the defense itself with the players within aren't really doing a great job. I mean, you know, talking about there's like Koundé, but Koundé this season has been as good as he usually is, because we know Koundé last season under the same highline he was playing very well, but this season it's not really that case. And I think even players like Kubarsi, I think a lot of it also comes to like just being tired. I think Flick even mentioned today how he knows the players are tired, so they're getting a 2-day break. And I think, you know, if a player's tired, then obviously not going to perform as well or as sharp. And I mean, talking about the first half, like a positive I saw is I think Joan García actually played pretty decent or pretty well in my opinion, because I know he made some crucial blocks, and you know, I think having a defender like that I think is just super important, and kind of remind me of how, you know, players like Inigo, even Kubarsi last season would make those important like tackles, you know, to prevent like through balls or just balls in general, to like, you know, make sure they don't like get shots off or anything. And yeah, I think the first half was not good at all. I think Barca should have definitely came out with a goal. And I'm trying to remember, was that Lamine pen in the first half or second half? I kind of forgot.
It was at the very end, like extra time.
Oh yeah, you're right, yeah. So I guess we can talk about that, because I think, you know, Raphinha gave him the pen. I'm not too sure why, but he gave him the pen, he missed it, which is kind of sad to see, because, you know, that goal is kind of needed. And also I think it hurt Lamine's confidence. I think, you know, Lamine the first half was a bit like not as composed as usual. I'm not sure really why. I think he felt a bit more tensed up, and I think, you know, I think honestly it comes a bit to like a bit like his mental health. I feel like, you know, recently the thing with Lamine is that, you know, he's a young player that's, you know, he's a star now, but at the same time he's young, so he hasn't really
Youngest player to miss a pen in La Liga. He's very young, yeah.
Oh, my whole point was that he's a young player that's like, you know, in this big scene, and he's obviously not used to it, this lifestyle. And the thing about Lamine is that he receives a lot of criticism, because, you know, he plays for Barca, and, you know, players that play for big clubs will get criticism because they have like some sort of standard to live up to. And yeah, I think Lamine's a player that gets a lot of criticism. I think, well, I don't know the exact reasons. It could be like many reasons, like, you know, maybe jealousy or just hate, or, you know, stuff like that. So I feel like, you know, he's definitely an online person too. Like, he goes online, so I think he probably sees a lot of this stuff, and, you know, it can obviously affect him. And I know he posted like an Instagram story, I think it was yesterday or 2 days ago at least. Like, he something about like, I forgot what exactly it was, but it was a bit of a weird message that I sent. So yeah, and also he got some false accusations about something like some news report in Spain about like Ansu Fati's brother and stuff. Something about something that happened at his house. So I feel like all those lies and stuff can definitely like, affect someone, especially like a younger player who's not really used to it, and, you know, isn't as mentally strong as like other people. Like, usually we know Lamine's is like a very composed guy who's very like calm usually, but I feel like recently you can see like he's a bit more tensed up. And even versus Atleti, where he kind of got in like a bit of like some like verbal fights and stuff, I feel like that kind of carried on this game. I think you kind of noticed that Lamine just isn't himself. Like, you know, talking about that one-on-one chance I mentioned earlier, I feel like usually 9 out of 10 times Lamine almost lost that in, but I think the one time that he didn't was today, and I think that's because like he just wasn't as composed and just wasn't in the right like mindset, I feel, and that closely lead to why he missed the pen. So yeah, I just feel like that's just something that I noticed, and I think, you know, Lamine is someone who needs to be more taken care of, I think, by just the team in general and Flick. I feel like he also plays a lot of minutes, and I don't think it's really that good for him. And I think, you know, at the same time, like, players' mental health obviously matters a lot, and their physical health. So I feel like Barca kind of struggle with that aspect a bit, because yeah, I feel like that's something that's definitely affecting the team, especially with a younger squad. You know, it's a bit harder to like, obviously people who are younger kind of are more vulnerable to like that stuff compared to like older players because they have more experience and all. But yeah.
Yeah, and again, I just feel like the big moments in that first half where you have the Yamal like one-on-one miss where I think he should have done better. I think again he should have like shot wide post, like a finesse type of shot, where as I feel like he tried to chip it somehow. But again, that happens. I think again we've been so wasteful this season, but something like that, at least if we create more chances, it's something you can forget about. But again, then there was that Raphinha post where we've seen so many times Raphinha had that low-driven shot and, you know, bang it in the net. But again, and that's also just unlucky. But I don't know what to like look at the game and tell. And at least recent form, like we've been so unlucky. We hit so many crossbars and posts. So you can put that up to luck, or you can put that up to just not being clinical enough. But again, it's an issue that we have to fix. And also the Yamal pen. I mean, again, I feel like Raphinha saw that Yamal was kind of struggling in that first half, and he felt like as a captain, as a leader, you know, give it to Yamal and let him get the goal. Then he needs to boost his confidence at least. And again, I just feel like Yamal missing that pen off the post again just kind of shows how recent form Barca have been. We've been so close yet wasteful. And yeah, I mean, missing that penalty, I think that just kind of deflated the whole team. It just felt like nothing was gonna go our way, and even going into that second half 0-0, it just felt like either Girona were gonna like get the at least a draw or something. But again, it just wasn't like giving us much confidence going into that second half. And I feel like in the 45th minute, we didn't see any subs from Hansi Flick, but I think he knew, the players knew, and even the fans were hoping for a big performance in that second half to at least get a good results and get the 3 important points. But again, I feel like the main warning was that we weren't being clinical enough. And again, I think a player like Yamal could have a mental toll on him in the rest of the game, because missing a pen, that a lot of people are going to criticize him for that. And players like Palmer, who get so many pens, he scores them, and something you can take that as like a criticism where people call him pen merchants. But the thing is that he scores them, so you can't really fault him for that. But again, I just feel like with Yamal, it's gonna be something he has to work on in the future at least. And just for Barca in general, I feel like Raphinha has to be the main penalty taker no matter what. I think having consistent pen taker is much better than having like 2 or 3 players that take penalties rotating wise. I just feel like that kind of mixes up the things. And we even saw with Madrid where sometimes Vinny, Bellingham, and Mbappe took pens. I feel like at the moment right now it's always Mbappe that takes the pens. So something that we have to change about that kind of system. I think Raphinha has to be the number one pen taker going forward. Um, but yeah, looking at the second half again, we came out. I feel like the players should have like done better. I think yes, we had a good like amount of possession. Yes, we controlled the ball, but I just feel like we were way too passive. And again, we didn't create enough in that second half. But the main moment that kind of changed the game, or like started like the chaos, was Kubarsi's first goal. And again, that was a really well worked goal. Again, it was from Yamal passing into Koundé, and another really good Koundé cross, and a great header from Kubarsi. And I felt like at that moment, at least we got the goal. At least Kubarsi got an important goal, because even recent form, he's been sort of poor in games. So yeah, I think that goal is really important. At that point, you expect Barca, take control of the game, get maybe 2 or 3 goals like more, and then maybe try to defend the lead. But right after that, how many times this season have we seen Barca really concede a goal right after we scored? I mean, just 2 minutes after we get the Kubarsi goal, it ends up being a goal for Thomas Lamar. And a similar type of goal we've seen throughout the season, where they play a ball through our high line, and again we aren't able to clear the ball. Again, you can kind of blame Kubarsi for this goal. He had the chance to clear the ball, but he kind of just clears it and passes it to the attacker again, and it's kind of like a simple just kind of cross into the box, and Lamar's just there to tap it in. So again, that's just a really preventable goal. I think again our defense is really just not shipping out to be good and able to at least protect the lead and be confident going into games to win games. So that's something we just seen so many times. It's just frustrating to see that as soon as we score, we end up just giving back another goal to the other team. So really disappointing. And also like Thomas Lamar, I think he was causing us a couple troubles during this game. He had a couple dribbles where he could have created chances, but again, just hard to deal with players like him who are technical and stuff like that. Um, and after that goal, when it was 1-1, we saw a lot of chances for both sides. Again, I feel like Girona had the upper hand in the second half, and we saw Joan García have so many saves. You saw the one where he kind of saved it initially and then saved the offside chance, where again that was really just a really good save, and also the one-on-one where he saved it with his foot. So again, so many times we've seen Joan Garcia kind of save us in games, and again he was keeping us in this game at least to get the lead. But unfortunately, in the 86th minute, we saw that all like come down, where again we saw Ferran Beltran get the winner. And this was a good goal from Girona's point of view. I mean, they kind of had the ball again. We couldn't really clear the ball. We couldn't like take a good tackle and step in and prevent the ball from bouncing around and stuff. So again, that's on our fault. But I feel like we could have really prevented this goal as well. And again, the main talking point for this goal from Barca's point of view was Koundé, and how he was lying on the ground. And looking back at it, you can argue that the player like he gets the ball, but after that he kind of follows through on Koundé and steps on him. So again, I feel like the VAR room should have maybe checked that over I think that's also something like Barca fans are kind of frustrated on, because that could have, been an offside. I mean, ruled out goal, because he did kind of step on Koundé, which kind of prevented Koundé from being a part of the play. So that could have changed things. But at the end of the day, we can't go back and change that. And still, I feel like even if we didn't concede that goal, I feel like it was Girona deserved the win, because we really didn't create much in that second half. And it just, yeah, so disappointing to see that, even players like Balde, who came on, or Rooney, who came on. I don't know why Rooney was playing left wing majority of the time. I think he was wasted there. I think we should have moved him to right winger and Yamal at cam, and then Firmino at left wing. So again, questionable decisions from Flick. I don't know, like, something you can kind of question him at times with his game management in this game. So, but overall, I just feel like, yeah, after that, second goal for Girona, when it was 2-1, we really didn't create much. And at the end of the game, we saw, Araujo going as striker, and Barca kind of desperate to at least get the points. So nothing else really happened after that points. We saw the offside goal for Barca, where it kind of hit Lewa, and kind of it was offside, considered offside. But again, I just feel like we didn't deserve the win or any points here. But yeah, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, so kind of like you said with the second half, I think really, like, I think the second half also, I think Girona played super well, and I think honestly, like, if I were to say what team played better, I think Girona played better in the second half. I think a lot of their, like, football and the way they're, like, connecting their passes and just playmaking, I think it was kind of unreal, and it's kind of embarrassing from a Barca point of view, because I just feel like Barca being outclassed, and it's just weird, because I feel like Barca were playing, like, Barca are such a good team this season. I think they're still a good team, and just seeing the way, like, the players just getting, like, kind of like outclassed by the Girona players, I think it's a bit humiliating, and I feel like, I think people can, like, feel that. And they played better, and they got the win. I think, like you said, they kind of deserved the win, honestly. I feel like they really wanted the win, and I mean, their situation was that they were only 2 points above the relegation zone, so, they don't want to get relegated, obviously, so they played super hard. I think Barca just didn't have that fight, honestly, and I mean, honestly, it could come down to the result just being tired, and I feel like Flick kind of knows, like, the players are a bit tired. But yeah, I don't know. It's just a weird game, and I feel like Barca really need to like just take a step back and just recognize, like, what's going wrong, and, like, how do we fix this, because as, like, time goes on, the more important games are gonna happen, and soon enough, like, the second half of the Copa del Rey will come on, and then the UCL round 16, and then more important league games, and so Barca really need to prepare for those and just try to, like, regain the squad. And I feel like, honestly, one of the main problems is just the lack of Pedri, and I know a lot of people are saying that the lack of presence of Raphinha was the main reason Barca got dominated by Atleti and stuff, and just how Barca aren't the same. And I do feel like Raphinha makes an impact, but at the same time, I don't think it's a big enough impact where if Raphinha is there, Barca are gonna dominate games. I think it's a collective effort of different players. I feel like if you miss just Raphinha, then you'll see like the difference. But if you remove someone just like Pedri as well, you also see a difference. I feel like if you bring all together, that's when you see the best Barca. And I mean, obviously that, yeah, but I think really it's just Pedri's absence that I feel like Barca just lose composure, especially in the midfield. I feel like Pedri would make a huge impact and just a huge like positive. He would bring a lot of positive, because I feel like something I noticed also is that Barca kind of aren't like holding as much possession as they used to, and I think Pedri is one of the main players that love to keep the ball and is very good at just keeping the ball and just holding on to it and like, letting Barca just control the game. So I feel like Pedri just is a super important part of the game, and I think De Jong still has been doing a good job, and I think Bernal's cameos are solid, and Olmo is also playing is also solid, but it's obviously not the same. And I think there's something I noticed a lot, just that Barca didn't feel as composed, but at the same time I also feel like the players themselves, like other players, aren't doing enough and just aren't playing at their best. And I feel like with Lewandowski's cameo, I mean, besides like the offside goal, I feel like he didn't really do much, and I think he was misplacing passes, and just his age is very showing. So yeah, I think that was really great. And with Rooney, like you mentioned, he's playing left wing. I feel like he's not really a left winger. He's left footed, so he should play in the right wing. And I thought when he was coming on, I thought what would happen was that Firmino kind of play more on the left, and then Lamine at the 10, and then Rooney on the right. But that didn't happen, and I don't think it was a good decision to let him play on the left, because he didn't really have that impact as I think he usually would on the right wing. And yeah, I feel like the other subs just didn't really do much, and I think it just wasn't a great game played overall. Honestly, I think I feel you can definitely blame Flick for the loss, but at the same time, I think also the players should be kind of held accountable. And I feel like there's just a bit like of a situation going on with certain of the players. I mean, look at like Eric Garcia where he gave away like a free kick outside the box, and then he got a yellow card for it. And then when he got subbed off, he was kind of like emotional, just crying and like frustrated. He was I think it was throwing something like a freezer or something. I forgot what exactly he did, but you can see that he's a bit also like tensed up as well. And I feel like I think the Atleti loss really just put the Barca players down, and I think it may take some time for Barca to really recover from it, like emotionally. But I think like if Barca can still push forward, I think the results can definitely happen. I just think the team needs to really come together and just figure it out. And yeah, I mean other things. I mean like I think Girona played well. I mean I just think I think Barca just didn't do good enough to create the chances and get the goals, and I think the chances that were created just again weren't well taken off. And I think that's just been Barca's second biggest issue this season after obviously the defense. I think it's just like the actual finishing is just not it's not really there. And I think I look at last season, right, because when Barca really like scoring all the goals, and that's when Barca had like so many goals, like I had the most goals that season, and you can tell that it's because of the high transportation that Barca were doing that, and also just the clinicalness of the players. And this season it's not really the same, and yeah, I think it's just a big issue. And I think even just like the striker position is just I feel like both Fran and Lewandowski just really aren't they aren't that great recent form, and I think if Barca had a proper striker, I think a lot of the chances actually would be finished by a player who's like hungry. So again, I just honestly at the same time it's just kind of poor like I guess decision making by the board, because I really feel like a better signing could have been made in the winter window. And yeah, even just like the Cancelo signing, I feel like it's just so unnecessary because he's not really playing too much either. He's just a backup, and even when he is playing, he's not making that impact, like a huge impact that that I think Barca really needed. So and that's just an issue. Yeah, I mean besides that, I think really like honestly what I thought Flick could have done was just play Araujo. Honestly, I think there's really no harm playing Araujo because I feel like the defense itself isn't that good right now, but something like Araujo, who I think has been kind of looking a bit better when he has like his recent cameos. I think it's no real harm to just play him and just let him play. I think he offers like physicality and stuff to the defense, so I think he would definitely be super helpful. But yeah, at the same time, I just feel like really like I think one of the major issues is just the players that are in the system, and how I think some of them just don't really fit it. So yeah, but I mean yeah. Besides that, I think really like I guess I'll talk a bit about the the Koundé thing. The Koundé like foul. I mean, I can see like the argument for it, like people wanting it to be disallowed, but at the same time, I think it was a bit like I think it was kind of fair to let the Girona goal stand because I think he got the ball anyways, and yeah, I just mean I don't know. I think it was, if anything, just a fair play by Girona. I think Girona played better, and I don't really like the reliance, but like the way that a lot of Barca fans and stuff are talking about, like, the VAR being a problem, especially in the even like with the Atleti game, talk about the Kubarsi disallowed goal, and now today with this goal. I feel like it's very difficult to argue that when Barca just didn't play well simply, and as long as they just not deserve to win anyways. So even if it makes like some impact, because a 1 point can definitely like be a huge difference, but at the same time I feel like it's not even deserved at the way Barca just played, and I think Jordan definitely deserved to have the 3 points. So yeah, I just think it's a bit, I don't like the way it looks where people just complain about the VAR and stuff all the time with the refs, because it's a bit weak, especially when Barca didn't play well. It feels like a kind of like an excuse in a way. But yeah, I don't like that aspect. I know Flick kind of talked about it a bit, but not too much, because he even acknowledged that Girona deserved the win. But yeah, overall, honestly, it wasn't a good game at all, and I think it was just pretty disappointing to see the way Barca played, because I really thought that Barca would have put on a strong display after the Atleti game, but yeah.
Yeah, and just I think I forgot to mention part of the game, the red card offense from one of the Girona players. And again, with that, I just feel like when a team like Girona has the lead, they're going to try to frustrate you, and try to get into your heads to, I guess, try to bail out things like frustration and anger. But yeah, we saw that horrible tackle from the Girona player, and again, Yamal, he tried to like get into an argument with him. So yeah, I think with that, just overall, I think at the end of the game, Barca were just getting frustrated. We were getting desperate to score that second goal, and when it seemed like Girona was just fouling you and trying to like clear the ball all the time, it just kind of is frustrating. So that's something we need to, I guess, work on mentality wise. But I mean, looking at the afterthoughts of the game, again, I think we're gonna have to be harsh. I think harsh on the board, harsh on Hansi Flick, and harsh on the players because yeah, just not looking good. They're not living up to the hype that Barca fans give them. To a lot of us talk about how Barca is like the top three team in the world or something like that, and our players are so good. But if they can't perform for us like this, and if they frustrate us in games like this, it just you can't really back them as much. But yeah, I think something on Hansi Flick. I think we are after gonna be like we're gonna have to talk about him because yeah, I think he at times he's just being really like stubborn. I think again, yes, his Hansi like when his system works, it's one of the best football we see in the modern game. But when it doesn't work, when we don't have players like Pedri, Raphinha, and Yamal fully fit at all times, if we struggle like this, and if our level drops down to like this, where our defense is just horrible and our attack looks really stale, I think that's going to cost us the future of how we win games, how we win trophies and stuff like that. So that is really something we're gonna have to reflect on. And even the players, I think, again, yeah, you mentioned like the windows where we didn't really sign anyone that could change our season. Like even last season, PSG ended up signing Kvara, who moved Dembele to striker and just changed their overall season. But yeah, we ended up signing Cancelo and a lot of youngsters. So again, the board hasn't really done enough to support Flick, and they haven't done enough to prove that we are a serious club, and we are trying to change things for the better. So again, that's also something we have to really work on. I think players like a Casado, like a Ferran Torres, if they aren't like first team level, I feel, and yes, they are rotation options, but if they do like if there's a offer that's like the right price, let's say for like a player like Ferran, if there's an offer like over 60 million or something like that, I think we are gonna have to look to sell them and get like true players that can actually make a difference for us. So yeah, I just feel like overall from this game, it just shows that our players and the overall system for Barca at the moment is not looking good. And I guess for the top performance for us, at least in this game, I'd have to put Joan Garcia in there. I think again, without him, this game could have easily ended 4-1 or 5-1 or something like that. I feel like yeah, he bails it out so many times. Yes, he had that mistake against Atletico Madrid, but that happens. And I think again, he just showed even today he showed us that the difference he makes for us. So he's in my top three. I'd put Olmo. I think Olmo had a pretty decent game, but again, nothing special from him. I think again in Pedri's absence, he's kind of done well to fill into that center mid position, but again, he's not at the level of Pedri. He can't control games like that, but I think he had a couple of moments where he kind of showed us he can do something. And my third player would honestly, I don't even know to put. I put Kubarsi for that goal, but again, he also was at blame for some of the goals that we conceded. I think he could have done better. And even throughout the game, he had like that one tackle where he just go out, like he kind of did a slide tackle and was kind of just run past. And I feel like again, our defense is just so easy to run past. If you can do like one like nice dribble against them and just run past them, it's just so easy for our team to make a chance from that. So that's also something that we have to really work on. But yeah, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, so man of the match for Barcelona will be Joan Garcia for me, and I think he also got the Liga MVP for that game, and yeah, like you said, he's kind of the difference maker, and like you definitely say Barca for making the loss like a bigger gap. So yeah, I think he definitely made some important saves and definitely like help knock us few goals, because I think the defense didn't do well enough to defend, and I think he had to bear a lot of responsibility on just saving the shots. So yeah, I definitely give him the man of the match. I think he's definitely the best player for Barca this game. And then the other stand-up performances, I would put Joan Martin up there because I think the first half was a bit impressive by him with some of the blocks he did, and yeah, I just think he did some stuff. So I think he had his moments, and I think since Barca weren't that impressive overall, I think moments like those are just kind of important and like they kind of mean a lot. So I feel like I'll put him as one of the players I think were kind of a bit of a smart standout. And I would also give De Jong a bit. I think he was okay at times. And same with Olmo, like you said, Olmo also had a decent game, nothing too crazy. But yeah, I just think overall it's kind of hard to give kind of these standout stuff because I feel like the team overall just had a lot of didn't have a great game, and I think there's like a lot of moments where every player kind of messed up in a way. So yeah, that's all I have to say.
Yeah, and other than that, just looking forward, I think we are actually going to be like we are going to have to be critical of this Barca team if we are trying to be like a serious team. These types of games, the Atletico Madrid game, we can't let them get to our heads, and we also can't be like looking at us and be like sorry for ourselves. We have to like we do have to like take the matters into our own hands and be serious. So hopefully like the team really reflects on themselves these last two games and thinks about like what can be improved. And even Hansi Flick, I think he has to stop being too stubborn at times. I think with this high line, yes, it works at times, but again, it also costs us a lot. So yeah, we have to look forward to that. But there's some important games coming up. We have the Levante game coming up. After that, we have Villarreal. So those are two important games right before the Atletico Madrid game. So if at least in those two games you can pick up form and try to prove to ourselves that we can go into the Atletico Madrid and at least put a good performance up. Hopefully we can do that. But if we continue this type of run where we just don't win games convincingly or we just drop points consistently, that's just not looking good for us. And yeah, other than that, I mean, we kind of talked about everything overall, like the board and stuff. But hopefully, I mean, we pick up form. I think again, this is the part of the season that's so important, where big games like in La Liga and the UCL, they're gonna start piling up. So if we can't respond to them, it's gonna be how like title slip, where we can lose like a La Liga title, we can lose a Champions League potentially. So yeah, that's something we have to really focus on. And again, yeah, we are now like 2 points behind Madrid, which is really shocking because Madrid themselves have been so poor this season. They sacked Xabi Alonso, they brought in Arbeloa, so they're not even doing that well in the season. But if their horrible season is kind of doing better than what we had this season, it's kind of a statement for how poor we've been ourselves this season. So that's something we have to really talk about. But yeah, any other thoughts before we wrap up?
I mean, okay, I also quickly mention like the Atleti Rayo Vallecano result because, like, it was actually Atleti lost 3-0, and I know a lot of people are talking about how like if that can happen, then Barca can easily come back from the the 4 goal deficit. I mean, obviously, like it's not easy to translate stuff like results like that because obviously it's very like game dependent. I mean, even with like Atleti Betis where they played twice, the one in Copa del Rey, one in League, Atleti won one of them 5-0, and then the other one they lost 1-0. Yeah, 1-0. So yeah, think that don't translate, but even like looking at today, like Barca didn't play well, so I feel like a team like that going in the second leg, it's just not good. It's not nothing's really gonna happen out of it. So yeah, I think really like what's gonna have to happen is just like have to find a way to just make the players play at their best. I think it's a good idea to give them a 2-day rest that he's planning on doing, because it gives them time to just reflect and also just speak take care of their body and just like relax and just recompose. And I think because I believe Pedri will be back for the Levante game, or he should be available. So I think obviously like he'll definitely have an impact. And I think honestly I don't think he should start the Levante game because his injury, like you don't want to risk Pedri getting injured. So I think he might have to play some minutes off the bench. And then I don't know about Villarreal if he'll like play a full 90, but I think the Atleti game, like he's gonna have to people are gonna expect him to play the full 90 like and make some impact. So I think like that's just something to consider. And yeah, like I guess for like because I think and just looking at that, like I think that like the 2 point like the difference between Barca and Madrid right now, I think obviously it's not good to be second right now, but I think like looking at like Madrid, I think they can definitely drop points in certain games. So I feel like it's not the worst case scenario. And also there's still like one more El Clasico that's happening at the Camp Nou in May. So it's not like it's not like the league is like too out of reach. I think it's definitely still possible, and even in the upcoming weeks, I mean, it's definitely possible for Madrid to drop points. And obviously they're also playing extra games in the UCL because they didn't make top 8, so they're playing like Benfica and stuff, so you never know what happens. So yeah, I think right now for Barca the best plan is just rest for a bit and then just reflect and like I think change some things. Hopefully Flick can find a way to change things and make Barca play much better, because I think the performances themselves just have been good. So yeah, and yeah, I mean, hopefully Barca can get the wins.
Yeah, and speaking on the Atletico Madrid result, I mean, yes, they lost 3-0 against Rayo Vallecano, but again, I feel like they rotated their team, and it just shows we know that even before the Barca game that they played, we know that Atletico Madrid had been so inconsistent. They lost UCL games, they lost a lot of La Liga games, so again, it just shows that they beat us 4-0. So that's also a statement for how bad we've been and how bad we performed in that game specifically and recent form wise. But yeah, I just feel like you can't really compare like. Yes, they lost 3-0, but that doesn't mean that we're gonna go and beat them 5-0 or something like that. Again, it's really game dependent. So yeah, and even with the Pedri thing, like yes, he's coming back like late this month or potentially early in March. But if a player like him, we can't rush him back. I feel like again with Raphinha as well, we can't just rush these important players back. Like it's gonna cost us later in the season because if we just force them to come back in the lineup, I feel like it's gonna increase their chance to get injured again or just not do well at all. And yeah, with players like them, when they come back, I think it's important for them to be integrated back into the lineup and start picking up from when they left off. So hopefully, Flick doesn't rush Pedri back in. We do really need him. Like he's such a key important part of this team. So hopefully he comes back and slowly starts to make a difference in this team. But yeah, the main thing for Barca at the moment is to keep winning games. I think yes, our form sort of dipping a lot this season and at this part of the season, but hopefully that or we start pick up form and in La Liga and the UCL. Hopefully we do well, but I mean if we can't perform in these types of games and if we keep getting frustrated with our wastefulness in games, I think that's gonna cost us overall. But yeah, let us know your thoughts in the comments. I mean, who's most to blame tonight? Would you blame Hansi Flick's tactics or the players and not performing enough? And also, do you still believe like Barca could win a big title like La Liga or the UCL this season? But yeah, overall, this was just a really frustrating game, and hopefully, the players and the team just look at themselves and reflect to do much better. But yeah, let us know your thoughts in the comments, and thank you for listening. Goodbye.
Bye.